Hey folks, hope you guys are having a good Saturday. I know I am. It is Saturday, the 30th of July. We're August. Dog days of summer are right around the corner, so that is going to be a lot of fun. The cicadas are clacking. They've been doing that for 2 months though. And the katydids are chirping. It's quite interesting where I live now. We get such an interesting mix of sounds. So during the day, it's like this extremely loud buzzing constantly because of the cicadas. They're all in our trees, and they just make really loud noises all the time. The sun goes down, they shut up, and then you have this like world of like crickets, katydids, and frogs, and so it's just constantly loud around my house. You know, you think of like, oh, you live in the city and it's loud. I don't exactly live in the country. I live like basically in a wooded area amidst the urban sprawl, but like it's way louder than any city that I've been in as far as the noise outside. Like when I lived in LA, you'd go outside and you hear cars and planes. I lived by the airport, in fact. And it wasn't as like a constant din as the bugs and frogs and cicadas and stuff where I live right now. It's wild just how loud things are over here. And I remember, you know, in the winter, things get a lot more quiet because things start to die off. So it's this weird thing where the summer is just this loud sound all the time. Kind of out in the woods, and then it gets real quiet in the fall and summer. It's going to be interesting. They died off the other day up here. Yeah, down here, there's two different kinds of cicadas. I mean, there's many kinds of cicadas, but there's cicadas that live underground for like more than a decade. There's like 13 and 17 year cicadas. They live underground as like a larval nymph thing, and then every 17 years or 13 years, depending on the species, they crawl out of the ground and crawl up the trees and like burst out of their larval skin and turn into cicadas and start making a racket for about 2 months. And then they all die off. And they fall down to the ground and die, and, you know, creatures get to eat them up. But where I'm at, there's so many different kinds of cicadas. It's every year. Every year there are really loud cicadas. Every single year, pretty much without exception. We have really loud cicadas. So that's kind of the fun thing here. We've got lots of other things. You know, there was like a herd of deer that walked through my yard the other day, like 6 or 8 deer, which is pretty cool. My neighbors all complain about armadillos, but I haven't seen any armadillos yet. So I don't know when these armadillos are going to come, supposedly tear up my yard. Get that back on there. A little loud, sorry. So I don't know when the armadillos are going to come tear up my yard, but supposedly they're coming. And what else we got? Yeah, we have so many frogs and toads. They're just everywhere. We found just a puddle in like the backyard, and it was completely filled with tadpoles. And there's like 1,000 tadpoles in this puddle, and frogs hopping in and out of the water. And there's always water in the puddle right now because it rains like every day. Not every day, but like pretty close to every day. You look at the weather forecast and you'd be like, there's like a 2% chance of rain. That 2% chance of rain can become a thunderstorm that drops 2 inches of rain. That's how it is on the Gulf Coast. It's completely unpredictable. Driving around Houston, I saw a homeless man lean up against a highway column and take a dump. There's some areas that are pretty bad. Yeah. But, I mean, compared to what, right? Like, that's you're going to get that with any urban area. But, I mean, you should see Fresno. I mean, Fresno was like that 15 years ago, and it's only gotten worse. There's places in Fresno, California, where there's just tent cities. You can't even walk without getting, like, robbed or mobbed by homeless people. You wouldn't walk there without a gun. And that's in California, you know. So, I will say that, like, the bad place, there's some really weird places in Houston, too, because it's kind of a big cow town, where just, like, I don't know. It's weird to describe. You have to be here and drive around. There's places that, their congregation of homeless people is like 2 tents. Well, in California, any overpass would have like 40 tents under it. There's more homeless people in California than the other 50 states put together. Just put things in perspective. So, like, yeah, you're seeing that that decay. People think of it as a decay of Western society, but really, I think it's something that's always been with us, right? The poor will always be with you. I mean, that's actually in multiple places in the Bible. I mean, Christ said it like, the poor will always be with you, I will always be with you, right? But the poor will always be with you. In the past, what you had in most places were these kind of shanty towns. So instead of people living on an overpass in the 19th century, you would have the drunks and the ne'er-do-wells and the various people who couldn't really operate in normal society and maintain property and do regular economic activity. They'd live out on the outskirts of town where property ownership wasn't as locked down in the past as it is now. If somebody went out to the edge of town and built a shack out of whatever wood they could find and lived in it as a drunk and did whatever work they could do to buy their alcohol and food to live at like the lowest, live like a homeless person lives now. No one really cared because that was the shanty town was like away from town. It was on the outskirts. It was in the hamlets, right? In fact, this stuff is even referenced in Shakespeare, like people living in the hamlets, living outside of the actual area of town. That's where the crappy stuff was, because that's where people didn't own things and no one really cared that you built something. It was no man's land. Ownership of land wasn't as locked down as it is now, where every single parcel of land, there's a definite legal owner in the United States of America. People would just live in those shanty towns and congregate over there. And now what we have instead is there's no legal place where homeless people, like as far as the strict legality of it, there's no legal place where homeless people can build a shanty house or whatever. And if they built a shanty house, it's not up to building code, so it's going to get condemned and they're going to get kicked out of it, right? So there's the people who live on the very bottom rung of society have no permanent place that they are legally allowed to live. There's no shanty town for them. So the tent is the shanty town. So rather than living in the shanty town on the edge of town, they go and they put a tent underneath an overpass where people aren't going to bother them. They just go where people are not going to kick them out. So yeah, the police maybe won't rustle them out of the underpass. They just kind of tolerate it. It's not legal. You can't legally camp in the medians in Oakland. But if you go to Oakland, the median, we call it the median. It's that island of grass between the two sides of the streets. That long stretch of little strip of land. It'll be completely full of tents in Oakland, and we're talking in the suburbs of Oakland. That's what it's like. Places that 50 years ago would have been a good place to live in the Bay Area are now full of tent cities, full of people living in tents, because there's literally nowhere where they can legally live. That's so they just will set up their tents wherever they will be tolerated to live. If they were to just put their tent on some random piece of land, someone owns it and they'd be like, get the F off my land, right? So they go where they're tolerated, which is underneath the overpass. And that creates a lot of problems, right? These are basically open drug scenes. It's where people congregate to drink, do drugs, trade fentanyl, whatever they want to do, and figure out their panhandling strategies. It's a major problem. But for people who haven't lived in California, I want to put this in perspective. The towns in the Central Valley of California, which is the more conservative areas of California, the areas that are better to live in than like your liberal hellhole cities, and even those are not that bad, depending on how nice of a place you can afford to buy. Right? If you could afford to live in El Segundo, which is where I lived, it was pretty good. But people who lived even in Norwalk, down 20 miles away or 15 miles away, it was tough. It was rough, and Norwalk wasn't always rough. Anyway, so in the Central Valley, the homeless problem is 100 times worse than it is in any other place I've ever been. It's 100 times worse than it is in Vegas, which is bad. And it's 100 times worse for sure than it is in Houston or Tulsa or Dallas or any of the towns kind of out here in the Central America, Central United States. So to put this in perspective, you see those 3 homeless people hanging out under the overpass. In Fresno, it would be 100. And in LA, you're talking, it would just be a field of of drug-addled people literally giving each other typhus. There's typhus outbreaks in Los Angeles City Hall from homeless people having fleas. The plague will come back, and when it comes back, the question is whether it will come back in San Francisco, if it'll come back in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, or it'll come back in Los Angeles. Someone will get the Black Plague in the next couple of years, and it'll be a news story that the homeless people will have the Black Plague again. Because those unsanitary conditions, right? Like the big solving of health 150 years ago was public sanitation. Getting people water that wasn't infected with cholera, that other people didn't dump their chamber pots into. Increased human lifespan unbelievably. Like the biggest hero of health was a civil engineer, whose name escapes me right now, but he solved the big stink of London. Figured out how to reroute all the water so that people got clean water and that their waste went somewhere else. The waste was pumped away from the water sources. You're undoing that by allowing people to congregate in those areas. And I don't have a good solution, because it's like, you can't give them an apartment in LA when apartments in LA are $2,000 a month for regular people. That's not really a solution, is it? But it's much worse in California than it is anywhere else I've ever been. And I've been all over. I've been all over the United States, and I've been to Canada. There's homeless problems in Vancouver where it gets cold, right? But it's nothing compared to California. It's nothing. Armadillos they dig up your yard. They dig for bugs. So they're digging like for cicadas and stuff. They'll tear up your yard looking for bugs. They eat the ants though, so that's good. Armadillos will not leap up and smash your face. They're very passive. You can pick them up, but they have a rough shell, and it can actually tear your hands up with them squirming. So you should pick them up with gloves. Will tadpoles and frogs eat mosquitoes and their eggs? They will. They will. Their good mosquito abatement is actually left. And frogs are an indicator that your environment's really healthy. Your amphibians are the first people to, or they're not the first people, they're the first animals to start to decrease when there's an environmental problem. Like, there's a waste or chemicals or something building up in the environment, poisoning things. The frogs are very sensitive, so if you start to see a decrease in frogs and toads and salamanders, that kind of stuff, then chances are that's an indicator. It's an early indicator. Other more robust animals tend to last a little longer. So if there's lots of frogs, you probably have a pretty healthy environment. Moved to Texas from South Africa many years ago and never looked back. Welcome to a beautiful state. I'm from here, so I'm coming back. I was picking up my cousin in Houston at night, and she got swarmed by a flock of them. I know it's bad in California. When I was younger, I tried to help them more. The problem is helping them. It's really hard to help homeless people. It's a real problem. It's very difficult to actually help a homeless person. You can give them $5. They're going to buy booze with it or drugs. You can give them food, and they will continue to live, right? If you give them food, they can't obviously smoke the food. But that doesn't really improve their situation. I mean, it's kind of like a temporary thing. In order to improve their situation, you have to figure out a way for them to get off drugs, and that's really hard. You can't make someone quit doing drugs. That's something I've learned over many years. People who want to do drugs will find a way to do them. People who are addicts are going to find drugs. This is I think this was a comment years ago. This is one of the silliest things is if you take people out of the environment, then they'll stop doing drugs. I don't know how many addicts you've met, but you could take an addict who's full addiction, take him out of Fresno, California, put him in rural Oklahoma. He will find drugs within a few weeks. He will find a way to get them because that's what he wants. So he'll find other people that do drugs. He'll wander around the town for 2 weeks and meet the two other people that are doing fentanyl, and then he'll do fentanyl with them. That's just how it's going to work. Rats in LA have the Black Plague. Yeah, Black Plague is going to come back. The thing is, the Black Plague, the Black Plague now, the bubonic plague now, is not the bubonic plague from the Middle Ages and the bubonic plague that decimated the Eastern Roman Empire in the 6th century, which is really the first of the plagues. of these big plagues. We tend to think of like the 14th century as like the Black Plague, but the plague had been around for centuries before that and had devastated the Roman Empire, caused part of the ruralization of the Roman Empire in the 4th, 5th, 6th centuries. So anyway, the Justinian plagues, you can look those up. It was probably the bubonic or pneumonic plague. The plague was probably spread the way the flu is. It was probably spread person to person, not by fleas. You would have to have such an infestation of fleas to cause the widespread death that you got from the Black Plague. It's very unlikely that fleas were a major part of it. That is one of those chestnuts like that people had only lived to the age of 30 and stuff in the Middle Ages that we get passed down from bad history textbooks and bad history teaching in our public schools. The reality was, and I learned this as an elementary schooler, there were different kinds of plague. There was a pneumonic plague, which was a coughing plague that killed almost everybody. There was a bubonic plague where you had the sores. They didn't know how it spread, but it was probably not spread by fleas. It was probably spread person to person somehow in a more obvious fashion, because the rich got it, the poor got it. It killed everyone. It was a great equalizer. If everyone got it, then the rich probably wouldn't get it if it was a flea-based plague, because the rich tended to live, even though they lived in cleaner environments where they didn't have running water, but they had running servants. They weren't sitting around with chamber pots and raw sewage around them, right? So the rich did live a more cleanly lifestyle than the very, very poor. So the very, very poor may have had more flea bites because they're sleeping in stables or something. But the rich were certainly going to be less susceptible to a flea-carried plague. Much more likely is that it was a traditional disease. And I don't know why. The flea thing, I think, is because now it's more of a bloodborne pathogen. But it's really a different disease than it was. But I could totally see homeless people getting the Black Plague from the flea bites and stuff in the rats. They already have typhus. They have major typhus outbreaks in Skid Row. It's bad, right? It's going to be a major health crisis. Going to be a major health crisis. Yeah, modern homeless camps are less sanitary than your typical medieval village in many ways. Yeah, they're like a medieval shanty town, really, where people just lived on the edge. But a typical medieval peasant knew to deposit their waste somewhere else. They put it in a cesspit. But really, it was kind of the urban environments where you have sewers where people would just throw their crap out the window into the sewer, and it would kind of go down somewhere, right? Versus people who lived in the rural buried their, they used outhouses, they buried their waste, they didn't just leave it sitting out. So urban environments became less sanitary in a lot of ways. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot of things like clean water, sanitation you don't even think about, especially the younger you are. Yeah, it's just like a given. And if you go out and live, I think everybody should go out and like camp a little bit. Go out in the Sierra Nevadas, go out in the hill country, camp a little bit. And really camp. Don't go to a campground that has like a faucet. They put all these modern amenities in. Go out, boil water from a river so you don't get dysentery, and figure out just how much trouble it is to live without a lot of our modern conveniences. To go out and have to boil your water really sucks. Boiling your water. I'm not sure why this is getting brighter and darker, by the way. It's something with my little program here. So, go out there, boil your water in order to get sanitary water. Put iodine in it, which makes it taste terrible. Do those things that a real camper has to do in order to just live off the land for a few days. And it's enjoyable to be in nature. And it's nice if you can leave that nature. But just know how much trouble it is to eat and to, just live your life without a lot of our modern conveniences. If you don't have something, you're going to have to go without, or you're going to have to, make some kind of solution, right? Like, what do you do if you have a headache? Well, you just got to live with it or find some other kind of relief. Get like cold towel and put it on your head. Maybe that'll help, right? That's, you got to rough it a little bit sometimes. Have you seen the hostel architecture in some cities? Interesting solution. Oh yeah. Like they do benches and they'll put like a a gap or a rail like in the middle of the bench. I'm gonna turn off this autofocus real quick. Here we go. Yeah, they put a rail in the middle of the bench, and then that will keep the homeless people from actually sitting on the bench. And there we go. That looks okay. They're going to keep the homeless people from actually sitting on the bench and sleeping there. It's kind of interesting. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, right? Like, people aren't supposed to be sleeping on benches, but you have to have some alternative for where you're going to put those people. You know, are you going to have them have a tent? Are you going to create like FEMA shelters? FEMA shelters are probably the most humane thing, right? Like, you know, tents that at least give people access to a bathroom, a place for their waste to not pile up and have unsanitary conditions. And it'd be very cheap. You could put them under overpasses and stuff. That would probably be the most humane thing, and then you wouldn't have to worry as much about some of the, at least, unsanitary problems that you get on Skid Row, like rats and stuff. If you see gay frogs, they're putting chemicals in the water. The homeless issue is a big one because you have to resolve the core issue for them, and in some cases there could be people who want to be homeless. Yeah. So the story I tell is, when I lived in Fresno, I worked downtown, and we had this thing called the Fresno City Campgrounds. This massive homeless encampment. This was like 15 years ago. A massive homeless encampment under an abandoned overpass, and across the street from it was the Fresno Rescue Mission, where you could get a job. You could go in there and get a job and have a room with heating and cooling. And of course, in Fresno, it gets up to 110 degrees in the summer. It's really hot and really, really tough to be out of doors during the summer months. So you could go in there and have a job, but you had to get off drugs. You had to go through the drug treatment program. So it was mostly empty. Like, some people took advantage of it, but mostly they go in there to get their morning meal. They had, like, soup kitchen, so they get some free food, and then they go out and hustle out some recyclable stuff, go gather cans or whatever scrap they could find, sell it at the recycle place down the street, and then take that money. And then, so I'd see them all waking up when I was coming into work or driving around with some errands for my job, and then I'd see them when I was leaving work. They'd all be stoned in the gutter. Every one of them would be drunk again. And that's the life they lived. They'd rather be on the street. They'd rather be homeless and be free to do what they want to do than to have the life that we think that they ought to have. Like we as adjusted people say they ought to have that a more normal, safe, sedentary life. Well, they don't really want that, as evidenced by the fact that they could have it, but and have it for free and have money and a job and an apartment, but they don't want that. So that was my big red pill about homeless people. Homeless people are not just poor; they have major problems, and they are living a lifestyle that is preferable to them compared to what is being offered. My heart aches for the homeless because it's so visible a problem for most of them. Money is not the problem. Yeah, it's not money. Yeah, you have to figure out how to make them not addicted to drugs or be schizophrenic. Some of them have major mental illness, and you're just not going to fix that. You're just not going to solve it. My cousin died a couple weeks ago, and he was homeless. He ended up being homeless. He had 6 kids. And he had a major collapse in his life. He disappeared. People didn't know where to find him. He'd go on people's radar and off people's radar. He would call, his ex-wife or his mom and just be like, I feel like I'm dying. Don't leave. And then you'd come to get him, and he would have disappeared again. He'd go stay at a friend's house and just disappear in the middle of the night and go back on the streets where he could drink and do whatever he needed to do to feel like he wasn't, to just not feel awful. He had a major collapse. And they found him dead behind a discount tire in Plano, Texas. And this was after he thought he was having a heart attack and called somebody. Of course, he still had a phone, right? He had a phone. I don't know who was paying for the phone, but wanted him to have that phone so you could try to get him. But there's only so much you can legally do. You can't physically grab him and lock him up in a room where he can't do drugs. That's like kidnapping. It's illegal. It's illegal to make him do better. But that was real sad, because when he was normal and when he was functioning, he was a very lovable person, very funny guy. His kids loved him. But He just had to collapse and disappeared. Didn't one form of the plague hit Europe every generation or so for around 1,000 years? Pretty much. This is during a time when simple fracture could lead to an infection and death. Yeah. So the summer plagues was a thing in Rome. You know, the Roman aristocrats used to move outside of Rome during the summer to avoid the plagues, because the plagues would come through every summer. Different plagues, right? Like we think of the Black Plague. That's one of the plagues, and it's one that we have a lot of historical record of and a lot of memory of. But there were many plagues. There were the Justinian plagues. There were plagues that happened every year. There were plagues that killed off all the people in it. You know, 1 out of every 4 people in Israel would die, and that's in the Bible. I'm trying to remember what it was. But David, there was a plague under David, right? These things are were like a constant problem. These plagues that would kill people. Spent some time in the bush back home. Something many people don't realize is just finding water is only half the battle. Most standing water is not drinkable to humans. Yeah, you have to purify it. You got to boil it, try to filter it. A few boys took their chances with standing water. The ordeal was not pleasant for them. Yeah. This is why you have the things like the life straw that are so, you know, if you've ever been out really far from civilization. South African bush is a different beast too. Different from East Texas or, you know, Sierra Nevadas or places here in the United States. Yeah, you can't. I have a pond out behind me, a big pond. So I guess in an emergency I could use that water, but for me to drink it would require me to purify it somehow. So I'd have to get the water, carry it, probably boil it to kill off whatever microorganisms are in it, and it'll probably still taste bad because it'll be full of dirt. You know, because it's a pond and it's getting stirred up by frogs, and frogs are peeing in it. There's fish in it, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's really not fit for human consumption. A good clean well was a really valuable thing in the past. Not just if you were in the desert, but even if you were in a temperate climate like England, having a clean well where you could get clean, good well water was a big deal. You know, you don't want to get dysentery. Like I knew a guy who got dysentery in the Sierra Nevadas and almost died from it. Dysentery will kill you. Depending on it could potentially kill you in a day or two. It's not as bad as cholera. Cholera would actually suck the water out of you, but dysentery could kill you by dehydration if you're not in a place where you can get fresh water. The Sierra Nevadas are drier than people realize. They see a big forest of redwoods and pines and they think, oh, well, there must be a lot of water there, but finding the water is only half the battle. You can find running water in a stream, maybe you can drink it, but there might be dysentery amoeba in it, and then boom, you're going to be crapping yourself into oblivion. And the thing about dysentery is that if you take Imodium, it will stop you from having to poop, but that will not cure you, right? It's like you could take it to try to get down the mountain to get back to fresh water or something, or get to somebody who can give you medicine for dysentery, but it could potentially kill you. I think it was Louis the 14th, maybe? He went on a crusade and died of dysentery on the crusade. And he had dysentery like his whole life. He could never get rid of it. And he had these bouts of dysentery, and he died. I think he died of it in Egypt on a crusade. I don't remember why they ended up in Egypt. I think they went to Israel and they're like, oh man, these Turks and Arabs are a little too much. Let's go to Egypt. See if we can take back Alexandria. Yeah. Yeah, Justinian almost got it all back together. But, the plagues really put a damper on that. Can you build up immunity or resistance to dysentery? I think you can. The thing is that I think a lot of things you can. I don't know about dysentery, but certainly traveler's diarrhea is a thing. That's where you go to a new place and then, you basically get dysentery because the microorganisms, the microflora in that water, your body's not accustomed to. Whereas the people who live there, it's fine for them to drink it. Their body is accustomed to it and they have resistance. Their immune system's able to cope with it. But most people aren't chugging like dysentery water and they haven't grown up with it. So going up into some random mountain stream where somebody crapped you know, and then there's little microbes in it that your body doesn't know what to do with. It can make you really sick. So yeah, those iodine tablets are very useful. All right, let's go ahead. Let's maybe play a game. Let's hop into Final Fantasy if we can. Let's see here. Hop over to Adrenaline. Have to do a little juggle thing here. Get it all set up. Where is the... We'll plug it in. $147 gigabytes on that memory stick. I haven't even come close to filling this thing up. Got plenty of room on the PlayStation Vita for whatever I want to do. 500 gigs goes a long way. It goes a very, very long way. It's something like where you're storing PS1 games. There we go. That looks good. Yeah, I had a friend who went to Europe. He toured Europe, and he only drank mineral water. Everybody drank mineral water in like Eastern Europe because, yeah, you know, there was in a lot of local places there was not the most sanitary water, and if you weren't used to it, you could get sick. Well, he ended up with kidney stones from it. He got kidney stones from the mineral water. Everyone was drinking mineral water, and like his body was not set up for mineral water. Imagine if you had a 500 gig. 500 gigs was like unimaginable in the 90s. I had a computer with a 1 gigabyte hard drive, and that was like unfathomable. And that's part of why the discs on the PlayStation 1 were so big. A disc could hold 800 megs. 800 megs was insane. And then these games were 3 discs. They were huge. Hold on. I think I have a save state. There it is. Kidney stones are tough, man. I wonder how Eris is doing. Oh, this weird delay on this is funny. Cloud, are you there? Eris, you safe? Yeah, I'm alright. I knew that Cloud would come for me. Hey, I'm your bodyguard, right? Turn up the desktop audio a bit. Get a little more music here. There we go. The deal was for one date, right? Uh-oh, Tifa's gonna get jealous. Oh, I get it. Yeah, unimaginable in the 80s to have 128 gigs. In the 80s, if you had a modem, it was an analog modem. You had to put a Bell telephone onto these little cups, and they would beep and boop into the phone. And you had to dial into like a server. It was early internet. It wasn't even the internet. Early networking was wild. Tifa, you're there too. Excuse me. You know, Eris, I have a question. What? Does the Promised Land really exist? I don't know. All I know is the Cetra were born from the planet. Speak with the planet and unlock the planet. And then the Cetra will return to the Promised Land, the land that promises supreme happiness. What does that mean? More than words, I don't know. Speak with the planet? Just what does the planet say? It's full of people and noisy. That's why I can't make out what they're saying. You hear it now? I only heard it at the church in the slums. Mother said that Midgar was no longer safe. That is my real mother. Someday I'll get out of Midgar, speak with the planet, and find my promised land. That's what Mom said. I thought I would stop hearing her voice as I grew up, but... Psst, can we get out? Kinda hard. Psst, don't give up. I'm gonna go take a poop. I wonder how Barrett's doing. Hey! Eris is an ancient. The real name of the ancients is Cetra. The ancients know where the Promised Land is, and the Shinra is searching for that Promised Land. I only heard stories about the Promised Land, and I don't know if it really exists. Is that right? The Shinra believe that the Promised Land is full of Mako energy. Which means if the Shinra get there, they'll suck up all the Mako energy. And the land will wither away. The planet's gonna get weaker. I can't just leave them be. I'm recruiting new members. Me, Tifa, Cloud, and Eris too. How about you? You're so damn boring. Let's just get some sleep. Grew up with an X386. Yeah. I first learned computers on a 286 IBM PC. And yeah, it was weird. It's a boon and a curse. Now companies don't optimize for space. Similar is true for speed in relation to CPUs and GPUs and CPUs. Hence stuck culture in gaming. Yeah. The door's open. When did it open? What's happened? Tifa, wake up! I didn't take my chickens with me. I gave them to my sister-in-law. So they're hanging out in Waterford, California. Having a good time making some eggs. Cute little chickens. Something's wrong. Look outside. I wonder what happened. He should have the key on him. Come on, Tifa. Get Eris. I'll go help Barrett and the others. Must have been attacked by... This is kind of eerie. Barrett, Rep 13, come with me. Something's wrong. How'd you get in? Why's the door open? The hell's going on? No human could have done this. I'll go on ahead. I'll clean up back here, so you guys go ahead. And don't get caught by Shinra. Come on, let's follow Red 13. Go check this room. Can we get in this room? Oh no, it's locked. I don't remember if there's anything to get. It's hilarious. Grandpa held a job once programming COBOL and punch cards, and we're only a few generations from that. Did 0 damage. I like there's like no music for the battle here. It's just kind of weird. Sorry. Alright. Let's go this way. This guy is on the floor. Get on the floor, everyone do the dinosaur. This part of the game is better handled in the original instead of the remake. Yeah, maybe. Genova specimen. Looks like it went to the upper floor using that elevator for the specimens. I actually think the remake is good. Lots of people didn't like the remake. I thought it was a really good game. Very fun gameplay and some twists and stuff with the story that I think kept it interesting. But one thing I noticed immediately is with the remake is that boy, they take a long time to tell the story, right? Like, you know, 10 hours in this version of the game tells so much more story than in that remake. Stolen antidote. Mario movie with Dennis Hopper is so good, people have no idea. I need to rewatch it. I remember it being completely bonkers when it came out. It was just bizarre. I should stream the DLC with Yuffie for the remake. It's not bad. It's a little bit different gameplay. It doesn't feel like, I mean, it's a new character. It doesn't feel like you're just retreading ground as far as like gameplay goes. Set up our materia. All. And actually want to heal. Fire. Do all. Restore. Fire. This will save again, just to make sure. Yeah, it took a lot longer to hit the same story points. I thought it was good. I generally liked the characters. I thought the graphics were great. I thought the gameplay was a lot of fun. So yeah, I liked the remake. I think there's people who like Final Fantasy VII is their favorite game, and so they didn't like the remake, and I understand that. Okay, where am I going here now? Oh, do I have to follow the blood? There's red. It looks like it leads up. Follow the blood. Follow the blood. And you know, there actually is a pretty decent story told with the Final Fantasy VII remake, just because it is. It's not the whole story, but like there is like a good kind of resting point there. I liked the final boss battle a lot. I think that was a really epic and fun set of final bosses. Are you going to buy any of the colored plates from your PS5? Well, I haven't. I kind of like the way the white looks. So, I don't know. If they came out with a green one, I would. Because my son just really likes the color green. The white and everything, it just kind of reminds me of... It feels retro to me. It feels like old computers where there was a lot of white ones. I get like a platinum one. I think you can get one from a third party that is the color of old Nintendos and the original PS1. That kind of gray platinum color. He's dead! The leader of Shinra Inc. is dead! Then this sword must be... I felt like it lived up to the hype. Sephiroth's! Sephiroth is alive? Looks like it. Only Sephiroth can use that sword. Who cares who did it? This is the end of the Shinra now. Please don't kill me. What happened? Sephiroth came. Did you see him? Did you see Sephiroth? Yeah, I saw him. I saw him with my own eyes. You really saw him? But I lie to you at a time like this. And I heard his voice, too. He was saying something about not letting us have the Promised Land. Then what? Does that mean the Promised Land really exists and that Sephiroth's here to save it from Shinra? So he's a good guy, then. Save the Promised Land? A good guy? No way. It's not that simple. I know him. Sephiroth's mission is different. Rufus! Oh, I forgot about it. Who's that? Vice President Rufus, the president's son. I'm gonna get the sword. Give me the sword. Sure. Is it still up here? I wonder what kind of person he is. I heard that he's been assigned somewhere else for a long time. I've heard that no one's ever seen him bleed or cry. I only know his name. Yeah, what do I do here? Maybe the door. There we go. Did you get to see the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 trailer? I did not. You got Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I hope it's good. I like the first two. So Sephiroth was actually here. By the way, who are you guys? I'm Cloud, former soldier, first class. I'm from Avalanche. Same here. A flower girl from the slums. A research specimen. How is Texas compared to California? I like it. I like it. I haven't even done a lot of good Texas stuff yet. One thing I like about Texas is Texas is very about Texas. You get there and like, this is, other places like, this is made in America. It's good because it's made in America. Go to Texas. This is made in Texas. It's like its own little country, and I love it. I mean, there's always... I don't really remember living here because I was like a baby. But I've been here many times. So there's not like a lot of changes. I will say that like Texas tends to be... Like Texas conservatism tends to be a bit what I would call milquetoast. That is to say, it's not bad, but it's pretty normy for the most part. Like the reputation of like really conservative people in Texas, it's like, they're like 80s conservatives, which is, they're not very right-wing, they're pretty milquetoast. But there's enough of them that it kind of keeps things in balance. And honestly, like, same thing with the liberals. They're pretty milquetoast as well. Everybody's pretty... It's not like California where, like, the conservatives are really conservative. Like, way more conservative than Texas. And the liberals are way more liberal. It's, like, much more extreme divide in California. What a crew! Well, I'm Rufus, the president of Shinra Inc. You only president because your old man died. That's right. I'll let you hear my new appointment speech. Old man tried to control the world with money. It seems to have been working. The population thought that Shinra would protect them. Work at Shinra, get your pay. If a terrorist attacks, the Shinra army will help you. It looks perfect on the outside. But I do things differently. I'll control the world with fear. It takes too much to do it like my old man. A little fear will control the minds of the common people. There's no reason to waste money on them. He likes to make speeches just like his father. Get out of this building with Eris. What? I'll explain later. Barrett, this is the real crisis for the planet. What the hell's that supposed to mean? I'll tell you later. Just take my word for it now. I'll go after I take care of him. All right, Cloud. Remake was about 40 hours, but they probably will bump Rebirth at the last part to 60-ish hours. They might, they could probably fit their main storyline into 3 parts, but they'll probably move side quest content into DLC. Yeah, this is way more efficient storytelling like this. I'm just thinking about it. Yeah, you get the whole game in the same time it would take to just play one of the remake installments. Cloud, I just thought of something. You're going to spend a lot more time in combat in the remakes, though. That's the thing. There's a lot more combat than in this game. There just is. There's more things that you kill. You spend more time fighting. I like the combat, though, so I'm not complaining. And this one is pretty light on random encounters compared to other Final Fantasy games. I think because they had so much story to plow through. I'll wait for Cloud. Everyone, get to the elevator. It's going to get pretty ugly from here on. We should check on our equipment. Tifa, Cloud and Tifa's materia. Do I want to remove it? Leave it as it is. I guess we'll leave it for now. Where am I going? They pulled a Dune for Final Fantasy VII. Oh, red 13 doesn't have any magic now. Well, I should have gotten the other materia clearly. We could have more magic. Oh well. This game is not that hard. Where do I go here? Everyone get to the elevator. Where's the elevator? Oh, okay, I guess I could go through that door. Fire on here. Oh yeah, this boss. I remember I had Barrett's like melee weapon equipped the first time I ever did this, and like I couldn't hit the boss. It was like really bad. Right, like she can't reach him. But you can hit him with fire. So I don't think it does that much. I should have gotten bolt. Hidden artillery. Yeah, a lot of the backstory and lore is very in the background. That's a good way of putting it. Healing wind. I don't think he can reach. Can he reach? No. I think his limit break might be able to reach, though. Let's find out. Yes, it can. That's good. I think... Did we win, or did he go into phase 2? I think we went into another phase here. I love writing stories as screenplays and reading nonfiction, but find that novels don't hold my attention very well. Am I doing something wrong? I don't know. Find better books, I guess. There's a lot of different ways to write a novel. I was just writing something about this for a new book. Whoops, I messed this up. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do prose. You can do lots of prose, you can do very little prose. You can do something that's almost entirely dialogue, or you can do something that's not. You know, you can try Hemingway, or you could try, you know, something that's very prose heavy like Tolkien. You know, it just really depends on, you know, what you want. Here we go. Big shot. Remake had a lot of good bosses, I agree. Did you play God of War? I've played... You know, I haven't really played the new God of War. I played the old ones. The ones for PS2, PS3. I have all those. They're good. AB cannon. Ouch. It's not a particularly hard boss. I wish I had gotten the material off of Cloud. I forgot he had like the lightning one. I get a couple lightning ones, you know. Sludfang. Can't reach. Better heal yourself. Flying drill. Fire! Whoops. Yeah, red's not gonna reach. Whoops. Big shot! There we go, we win. You haven't read much lately. Do you find the quality of your writing starts to slip? I don't know, because there's not really a time where I'm not reading a lot. It's like so kind of ingrained into everything I do. So I'm not sure. Probably. I mean, whatever you're reading is going to affect you as a writer because you're hearing that prose, you're reading that prose, you're seeing those characters, and that's going to make you think about things. Kind of like what you're reading. So I went back and started reading the first Song of Ice and Fire book, Game of Thrones again, because I read that years ago. And like now that I've written a bunch of books, like it's so much more obvious what George R.R. Martin does as far as like he does a lot of little gimmick things, and it's very much, it's not a bad book, but it's very much a soap opera of bad people. There's very little forward moving plot in it. It's mostly just kind of momentary character relationship stuff, you know. Hey, baby girl. Hello. Are you letting my dog in? Well, I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of streaming. You want to go get mommy?
No, I'm picking up my bag of rocks.
You're looking for your bag of rocks? I know where it is.
I'm picking up my rocks.
Are they in there?
They're my secret ingredient.
Oh, why don't you take your rocks? Here, take the bowl with your rocks. Oh, you did get some rocks. Here, put them. Oops. Here, let's get your rocks. And you can go put them in your treasure chest. Are you gonna take them in your hands or the bowl? Your hands.
My hand.
Okay, I love you. Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future. It's very good. Very ahead of its time about New World Order, One World Religion. I'll check it out. Material from other members was square. Let's make sure we have like all the lightning elemental. Square. I don't know how to get the material off them. The square is not working. Well, I can't seem to remove materia from other members with square, so we're just going to go with it. Baby girl, I'm in the middle of this. What are you bringing me?
I'm bringing you my phone.
Oh, this is your phone? Hello?
Yeah.
Why do you want to fight me? You seek the Promised Land and Sephiroth. Exactly. Did you know that Sephiroth is an ancient? A lot has happened. Anyway, I can't let either you or Sephiroth have the Promised Land. I see. I guess this means we won't become friends. What is it, baby?
I'm trying to do something for you nice.
You're trying to do something nice for me?
Yeah.
Well, what is it?
Oh. Ask me and Daddy.
Why don't you go watch TV with Baba?
What?
Watch TV with your brother.
Do something nice.
Well, I'm in the middle of something here. It's that boss music. I'm playing this game.
You're not streaming anymore.
Oh, I'm streaming. I'm streaming the game. Alright, I think I have to maybe kill the other guy here. The other guy.
Look. I have some.
Alright.
Yeah. No, I'll come back when you're fishing stream. No, bye.
Shotgun. You just keep shooting me with a shotgun. A high potion. I don't have too many of those, so gotta be judicious with them. I don't really know if Cross Slash and Braver do like significantly different things. He only hits for 100. Bolt seems to hit pretty hard though. Yeah, lightning hits him for 100, so that's pretty good. That's all for today. Imagine how scary it'd be to like grab a helicopter with one arm and like fly off with your shotgun. It's like that would be unbelievable. It's hard to hang from one hand. It really is. You guys ever done like one-handed dead hangs? It's pretty tough. You dropped a lot of money. Alright, what do I do now? Go this way? I don't know, that boss music's still playing. There's something very nostalgic about like the color of the skies in this game too. It's like a certain color. This game did look really good on CRTs, by the way. It'd be cool if I could get this sword. But I can't. Where's the elevator? Oh, we got a good little spam here. They spam pretty hard. Well, it's gone now. I love their CRT monitors on their desks. I guess I gotta fight 3 guys at once before I can get Tifa. Yeah, lovechat.xyz, best adult dating site. Really, the best. Say, I'm immune to poison. These guys just cast poison at me and it doesn't do anything. These things don't really do any damage to me, you know? I don't know enough about dating sites to know what actually is a good dating site. I know people like to use stuff like Tinder, but it seems like it's a really bad place to find a partner, is Tinder, you know? I heard the showrunner for Rings of Power hadn't ever read Lord of the Rings. And that just is, you know, it's pretty basic. So he couldn't get past the 3rd page. I'm like, okay. This is exactly as expected. I mean, I might talk about Rings of Power purely from a Machiavellian perspective, that is to, like, sell books. And be upfront about that. These guys can't do any damage to me. It's really funny. I guess this guy can do damage to me. This guy's still not dead. I like there's a little bar that's like time. Time. Time is filling up. Yes, look, the bar is going forward. That means time is going forward. Or, you know, we could just watch time go forward. This is like the longest battle ever. There we go. This is way harder than the boss battle. At least I got neither. Where's Rufus? I couldn't finish him. Looks like this is going to get complicated. I'll go on ahead. Oh, surrounded, huh? If I was alone, this wouldn't be a thing, but I got a reputation to protect. You all get out while you can. It's not you they're after, it's me. Yeah, well, that ain't happening. You got caught up in this over my lead. Now it's my turn to watch out for you. Okay, playtime's over for you jackasses. Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Who you calling Mr. Barrett? That don't sound right. Well then, if you are through talking, may I suggest that we think of a way to get out of here? Huh? Oh yeah. You a cold man, just like someone else around here I know. Man, this person loves the spam about this best adult dating site. Did you say something? Not a thing. So what we gonna do? Barrett! This is like one of the most 90s moments in video game history right here. Where's Cloud? Everyone over here. Huh? What's up? Where's Cloud? I'll tell you later. Hurry, hurry. There we go, guys. Cloud riding a Harley with like all these low frame rate CG graphics. Look at it. This was so rad in 1997. If you were like playing this in 1998, this was really cool. It's so like edgy 90s. Just like drive the Harley out of the window. Control the bike with the directional buttons and save your friends in the truck from the Shinra pursuit troops. Attack on left, attack on right. This is exactly like the remake. I think I want a healer. Let's give her all and restore and fire. And give him let's go. It would be neat for a video game to have 100% practical effects. They had those. Yeah, this was such a cool little sequence. This really was like cool. The low frame rates don't help, but on the PlayStation 5, this was basically it's like the same thing, but it lasted way longer. There we go. This guy. There we go. Yeah, I attack people on motorcycles with giant swords. This is how we do motorcycle fights. It's like that opening sequence in Akira, where they're fighting on the bikes. Here we go. Whoa, here we go around the freeway. This was so 90s, it was so cool. The fact that they included a sequence like this in an RPG was just really cool. Yeah, the remake had an entire boss. It's that crazy car thing. Have you read any Henry Kuttner or C.L. Moore? Maybe C.L. Moore, but I don't think so. See what this does. Miss. He can hit. See everybody topped off here. It sounds like Rainbow, this boss theme. If you ever listen to the band Rainbow, it sounds like Rainbow. Especially 70s Rainbow with Ronnie James Dio in it. Yeah, Bolt hits hard. Oh no! Good, healing wind at just the right time. Heal us up! Yeah, I gotta listen to Rainbow Rising. It's one of the best rock records ever recorded. Mind Blow. I don't know what Mind Blow does, but let's try it out. Oh, it attacks the MP. Well, that was a waste, wasn't it? Arm attack. Fire! Final Fantasy IX remake. I heard they're making one. Final Fantasy IX is one of my favorites. Twin burner. There we go. Everybody's leveling up. This is like the end of the Final Fantasy VII remake. That's where you get to the end of this one. Well, what do we do now? Sephiroth is alive. I have to settle the score. And that'll save the planet? Seems like it. Alright, I'm going. I'll go too. I have things I want to find out. About the ancients? Many things. I guess this is goodbye, Midgar. Then there's a huge boss fight where you fight Sephiroth, and then like Genova and all this stuff. It's really cool. And now that's as much as the Final Fantasy VII remake of the story you get is this. We told Eris's mom to go somewhere safe, so Marlene could be safe too. Yeah, she should be. She said she didn't want to stay in Midgar anymore. Maybe it's for the best. You know what? This is the first time I've ever left Midgar. Really? You worried? A little. No, maybe a lot, but I have my bodyguard, right? I guess this is the start of our journey. You hate traveling? I don't know, but I don't have anywhere else to go, so I guess it doesn't really matter whether I like to travel or not. I'm going back to my hometown. I'll go with you as far as that. Alright. You can kind of walk around here. Can't go through, can't go back. Then, let's go. We need a group leader for our journey. Of course, only me could be the leader. You think so? It would have to be Cloud. Alright. Go northeast to a town called Calm. If something happens, we'll meet up there. Besides, we can't have 5 people strolling down the fields. It's too dangerous. Split us into 2 parties. Alright, who I want in the main party? Probably Eris. And we want Barrett or Tifa? What's the question? Probably Barrett, so we have a ranged attack. We'll see you at call. If I take one more step, this is the furthest from home I've ever been. Okay, there we go. That way. Saving on the world map. This isn't even really the end of Disc 1. Like, here's Midgar. Oh. Can you go back into it? Oh, you can, kind of. Yeah. But you can't really go back into it. This kind of looks kind of cool, though. Ooh, what are these guys? Curious if the next Final Fantasy VII remake is going to have open exploration if we do more like Final Fantasy X, where you choose where to fast travel from a menu. I didn't mind Final Fantasy X. It felt very fluid. Is this where we're trying to go? I think this is it. We've reached calm. Yo, I'll be waiting at the inn. Hurry up and get your butt over there. Well then, I'll go on ahead. And you can... Come on, listen to me. Got anything interesting to say? Rippaverse is more reason to be optimistic than Sanderson's crowdfund because Eric July did it without previously having old pub fame. Yeah, but he did it with a gigantic YouTube channel. So most people are not going to be able to do that either. Right? If you're starting from zero, the question is how you do that from zero. I mean, Brandon Sanderson really did it by writing a lot of books beforehand. But, you know, I just don't want people to get the wrong idea about crowdfunding and thinking, oh, well, I'll crowdfund and people give me money. It's like, no, you have to have a reason. You have to have an audience and a reason for them to do it. Brandon Sanderson had years, he had 20 books of Old Pub and world famous fantasy author to do a crowdfund with. You could also do it with a giant YouTube channel or a huge Twitter presence or lots of things. There's lots of ways that you could do it, but you're probably going to have to. And I'm not trying to like naysay you at all. I'm less optimistic simply because it's a comic book, and comic book people are just a really bad crowd. That's why I don't do comics. It's just a tough crowd, but. Really, you have to think about how you're going to get your audience ahead of time, and that's the challenge. You know, I'm streaming on YouTube, and I'll do some more YouTube videos this week. People will watch them because I've already established an audience, and maybe someone will buy a book, right? So you have to think about how you're going to do it. Like, are you going to post a bunch of nonfiction articles? Are you going to post like a bunch of serial fiction? Like, how are you going to do it? You got to try out lots of stuff and figure out like what's the way that you're going to get your audience before you can just get a big crowdfund together. And even then, I don't really like crowdfunding as a model. It's not the model that I would probably prefer to go with in general. That's why I don't do it. And one of the reasons is that the traditional crowdfunding model, if you'll allow me to just kind of wax poetic here for a minute. The traditional crowdfunding model punishes you for success. So you have a bunch of stretch goals, and so as you hit those stretch goals, you basically are reducing the value of what you're giving to people. So especially if you're delivering a physical product, let's say you're delivering a book, and at this next stretch goal, you're going to include this in the book that costs more money. You end up making less and less profit per unit as you get more and more successful. And I've talked to a couple creators where there's a bad spot where you basically are doing a bunch of extra work because it was like to try to drum up people support for the crowdfund, and you end up really doing more work for less money is what ends up happening, and that takes time away from the other things that you could do. So like for my preference, like I like making YouTube videos. It's something that I like doing on its own, but for my preference, would I rather write extra tie-in stories and deliver them for free with a crowdfund, or like ship a second book as part of a crowdfund, or would I rather just write more books? And I'd rather just write more books. I'd rather just keep doing more stuff. So that's one of the reasons I don't do it. But there's advantages to crowdfunding, is that you get the money now and you can still put it on Amazon and make a bunch of passive income with it too. So either way, So far, Eric July hasn't been a drama magnet. I appreciate that. People try to rope him in if he shuts this stuff down quick. Like, why? There's no advantage to it. People use drama when they're like on the lower end of things and they're trying to get attention. So if you're already on top, man, there's no reason to engage in the drama. It's just a waste of time. Your party's waiting for you on the second floor. Cloud, you're late. Well, I just went straight up here. Yo, man, you're late. Sorry to keep you waiting. Guess everyone's here now. So let's hear your story. You know, the one about Sephiroth and the crisis facing the planet. Let's hear it all. I used to want to be like Sephiroth, so I joined Soldier. After working with Sephiroth on several missions, we became friends. You call that a friend? Yeah, well, he's older than me, and he hardly ever talked about himself. So I guess you'd call him a war buddy. We trusted each other until one day. One day? After the war, it was Soldier's duty to put down any resistance against the Shinra. That was 5 years ago. I was 16. He was only 16, huh? This is 21 in this. It sure is raining hard. Hey, how are you doing? I'm alright. I wouldn't know. I've never had motion sickness. Everything okay? Yeah, there's no guarantees. Yeah, crowdfunding becomes the gig rather than the gateway. Really, you shouldn't crowdfund until you've already established an audience, if possible. Just for morale, if nothing else. It kind of sucks to not meet crowdfund goals. Settle down. They gave me some new materia. I can't wait to use it. Just like a kid. You gonna brief us about this mission? This isn't a typical mission. Good. Why do you say that? I joined Soldier so I could be like you. But by the time I made first class, the war was already over. My big hopes of becoming a war hero like you ended with the war. That's why I've always signed up whenever there's a big mission, kind of a way to prove myself. Say, how do you feel, Mr. Sephiroth? I thought you wanted a briefing. Our mission is to investigate an old Mako reactor. There have been reports of it malfunctioning and producing brutal creatures. First, we will dispose of those creatures. Then we'll locate the problem and neutralize it. Have you seen the 4K remaster of the Lord of the Rings trilogy? I haven't. Some people say it looks great. Others say it has too much grain in or detail removed. I don't think it has detail removed. It's super sharp. It's like brutally sharp. I have the 1080. I have 1080p and it looks fine. The 4K looks way better, like way better. The only thing I will say about it is that you will notice some judder. You'll notice frame rate stuff depending on what your TV setup is on the 4K one. You'll notice, like, it's just it's hard for me to describe, but like when there's a panning shot, you'll become extra aware of the frame rate because of the increased fidelity of each frame. There's like not a motion blur, which it ends up being weird. There's a couple of ways you can set up your TV that will minimize that, though, like black frame insertion. Brutal creatures, where? The Mako reactor at Nibelheim. Nibelheim. That's where I'm from. Hometown. Sir S, something strange just crashed into our truck. That would be our monster. A dragon. Sweet. It killed me in one hit. That was great. Sephiroth's strength is unreal. He's far stronger in reality than any story you might have heard about him. So, where do you come in? Me, I was mesmerized by the way Sephiroth fought. And then we reached Nibelheim. How does it feel? It's your first time back to your hometown in a long time, right? So how does it feel? I wouldn't know because I don't have a hometown. How about your parents? My mother is Genova. She died right after she gave birth to me. My father... What does it matter? All right, let's go. Keep on around here, you get in trouble. It's so boring being on watch. Just sit tight at your job, right? Come and talk to you once in a while. Just stick with it. The Mako smell is pretty bad here. Don't forget to look in Tifa's underwear drawer. Yo, wait a minute. Isn't that, the name of Sephiroth's mother? I remember Genova. That's that damn headless spook living in the Shinra building. That's right. Barrett, would you please let us hear what Cloud has to say? You can ask questions later. Tifa was only... Okay, Cloud, continue. Could you still see grain in the 4K version, or did it look less filmic and more digital? I don't know. I didn't really notice any film grain. It looked really sharp. It looked more digital. I was really surprised with Tifa. town was quiet. Everyone must be staying in their houses, afraid to come out because of the monsters. No, maybe they're afraid of us. We leave for the reactor at dawn. Make sure you get to sleep early. All we need is one lookout, so you others, get some rest. Oh, that's right. You may visit with your family and friends. I heard Sephiroth was coming, got my camera ready. I want a shot of Sephiroth and a monster. Don't take pictures with nobodies. Welcome. Hey, aren't you... Have I come here before? I don't remember. Now you're pissing me off. This don't matter, so get on with it. I just repeats that little sequence. That's what some people were complaining about, that too much grain got removed. Supposedly Peter Jackson wanted to change the visuals to look more like the Hobbit trilogy. I don't really see them that way. I think some of the more, because of the increased fidelity, some of the CG is more obviously CG. There's like spots in landscapes where you see like a little CG castle on a hill. This is my house. It has nothing to do with that incident 5 years ago. Yo, wait, I want to hear. Me too, it's been a long time, right? Tell us more. You saw your family, right? Alright. I don't know if you could call it a family. My father died when I was still very young. That's why my mom was living alone in this house. Yeah, I saw my mom. My mom, she was a vibrant woman. Hadn't changed at all. But a few days later, she died. But when I saw her, she looked fine. Yes? Cloud? Welcome home, Cloud. Hi, Mom. Come, let me take a look at you. You look so handsome. So is this a soldier uniform? Mom, My, how you've grown. I'll bet the girls never leave you alone. Not really. There are a lot of temptations in the city. I'd feel a lot better if you just settled down and had a nice girlfriend. I'm alright. You should have an older girlfriend, one that'll take care of you. I think that would be the perfect type for you. I'm not interested. Are you eating, right? I'm alright. The company takes care of me. Is that so? You can't cook, right? I was worried sick about how you were doing. Cloud? You know Cloud. Isn't that right, Cloud? I will always be your mother. Let's stop this. Cloud? Did you go into my house? Yeah. I thought you might be home. Like they have some like stills and stoves here. Cloud? Did you go into my room? Yeah. Speaking of older girlfriends, have you ever seen Benjamin Franklin's advice on choosing a mistress? I have not. The piano. Did you play my piano? Yeah, I jammed on it. Now, how did this go? It was start button to finish. Start button in. Someone said you gotta look in her underwear drawer. I don't remember where it is. Received orthopedic underwear. Cloud! It's true. Just kidding, don't get mad. Cloud. Talking about something really important here. Alright. I don't remember if I leave or not. I wonder if there's anything else in here that like triggers this. She's not there, obviously, so it's whatever. Yeah, but 515151. Five one. All right. I don't think there's anything else in here. The letter. Did you read it? My letter. Yeah. You remember what it said? I remember clearly. I read it. It was a letter addressed to Tifa from the son of the guy that runs the general store. Tifa, how are you? I just arrived in Midgar 8 days ago. Yesterday, all the Nibelheim got together to welcome me. The only person that we couldn't get a hold of was Cloud. But everyone said he wasn't really that close to us, so even if we asked, he probably wouldn't have come anyway. Well, enough about him. Midgar is really something, but to tell the truth, I feel so behind on everything, so out of it. Even the rooms of people in the slums are clean. Right now, I'm living in the slums, but I plan to move to a really nice room, like the ones I've seen in magazines, once I make some money. But to do that, I guess I have to find a job first. That's right, I still haven't found a job yet. I lied to my parents and told them I found a great job with Shinra Inc. I wonder if it's too late to go back. Sometimes I think I should have taken over my parents' store. Yeah, I remember it all, because there was some stuff about me. I just made it here to Midgar, but all I think about is Nibelheim. Hey, Tifa, is that stupid old water tower still working? Is the old man at the end doing well? Are my parents still at the shop every day? Have any monsters attacked? And most of all, how are you, Tifa? It feels like I haven't seen you for years. We were all talking about you last night. Everyone likes you, but because everyone idolizes you, I wouldn't very well stab them in the back. I always acted cool, but I actually was just afraid of being jilted. Well, if I keep writing like this will become a love letter. So I think I'll stop here. Take care. I'll write again. P.S. Write me back, okay? I don't think there's anything else. Right? I like there's a little picture of like a black mage on the counter there. It's kind of cool. The subtle little thing. I guess her parents sleep in separate beds. What's up, Sergeant Slim Jim? Step into Slim Jim! And explore the houses a little bit. I don't think there's anything in this one. This person. Oh, you're with Shinra. Welcome. Oh, I'm sorry. It's you, Cloud. I didn't recognize you. Shinra? Shinra? Soldier? Salsa? Are you going to kill the monsters? Are you going to do? Cloud, you've grown to be a strong man. Do your best. Do your best. Go upstairs. I don't think there's anything that you can like find in any of these little areas, so it's mostly just explore around. I'm gonna play some Final Fantasy XIV. I haven't played that in a while. I need to. Just having a lot of fun with it. I am on the Zalera server, if anyone plays there. I'm so nervous. How come? Look, you've never known when a monster's gonna show up, right? You from Shinra? That's right. Big-headed young kid. Gonna go that way yet? Up ahead is Mount Nibble. I'll tell you about the time I went to the mountains. Shinra here to get rid of the monsters? And who are you? I'm Zang, and I travel around the world teaching children martial arts. I have 128 students all over the world. In this town, a girl named Tifa is my student. Did you say Tifa? Tifa has good sense. She'll be a powerful fighter. It really did put like a lot of care into these little environments. So, what do you need, Cloud? Where's Sephiroth? Yeah, he's upstairs. Should rework my icon so it has meat sticks instead of palm trees. What are you looking at? This scenery. I feel like I know this place. A short one bed. It's all reserved for you Shinra people, so I don't mind. But wouldn't you feel more comfortable staying at home? Just started playing again last week, and I'm in the Co-World server, starting from scratch with the new character, working on Archer Bard. That's pretty fun because I like to hook up my MIDI keyboard and I can play stuff with it. Hey, I can't remember much else. There's nothing more to talk about. That's alright, Cloud. remember what I do next. Do I go in here? This mansion. No, I'll come here later. Is there anything else here? This was kind of the thing about this game too, is like you had to walk around trying to trigger the cutscenes. Like, will this trigger the cutscene? Will this trigger the cutscene? What will trigger the cutscene? Go upstairs and go lay down. Do I have to exhaust all the dialogue and ask about the situation in the town? Now about the town. A lot of monsters have been appearing in the last 12 months. Other than that, there's not much change. Nothing much exciting happens in a little town like this. It was right when they were building the reactor, while they were still building it. But once it was completed, it's been bad. Then a few years, all the trees on the mountain withered away. I don't know if the reactor was good or bad. I mean, it's easy to say that it was a bad idea now, but now, what can you do about it? Anyhow, we've got to get rid of the monsters, then we'll all be able to relax a little bit. Have you seen Razorfist's recent talks about the anime and manga on Twitter? No. Probably not. And I like rest here. Start the next day. We have an early start tomorrow. You should get some sleep soon. Yeah, let's get some sleep. I've hired a guide to the Mako reactor. I heard she's young. I hope you can rely on her. Once the guide gets here, we're heading out. Listen to me, Sephiroth, in case something happens. Trust me. I'll be alright, Dad. What time is it? Nope, I'm out of time, so I'm gonna have to hang it up here in a minute. I have 2 men from Soldier with me. I'm Tifa. Nice to meet you. Tifa, you're the guide? That's right. I just happen to be the #1 guide in this town. It's too dangerous. I can't involve you in something like this. Then there's no problem if you protect her. Let's go. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that European comics are superior to manga. I do think a lot of anime and manga is overrated. But the reason that people like it is because they don't really have a lot of European alternatives either. Like, there's no market penetration to that. Mr. Sephiroth, please let me take one picture for a memento. Tifa, can you ask him for me too? Manga's huge in Japan, so there's an automatic filter. You're always going to get something that's interesting that can be translated because of its popularity. Like, it's a much bigger form over there. Cheese! Great, thank you. I'll give each of you a copy once I get it developed. A Mako reactor was built in Mount Nibble. Look at those sweet graphics. Unbelievable. The cold air of the mountains of Nibble. Look at the little lens flares. It was no different. This looks like scenery from Morrowind. Alright, I'm going to... We'll probably pause here. It gets harder from here. Follow me. Oh, the bridge. Look at that sweet animation. everyone seems to be all right. Can we get back to where we were? Calling Berserk a barbarian comic doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's definitely like grimdark medieval fantasy. I mean, it's probably more derivative of something like Black Company. But, I mean, I could see maybe like Conan type stuff influencing Mira. These caves are intertwined just like an ant farm, but that stuff goes way back. Oh, in Sephiroth, there seems to be one person missing. It may sound cold, but we've got no time to search for him. We can't go back now, so we must go on. We'll travel together from here. Alright, I am going to create a quick little ghetto save here. And we'll pick this up next time, maybe later in the week. Yeah, Japanese manga was low-key until it wasn't anymore. Alright. The main thing is that, like, most of the American stuff's pretty dried up at this point. Like, it's either cape shit or, you know, you just don't have a lot of alternatives to, like, bad Marvel and DC stuff from the American side. Unless you're going full indie, in which case that's an alternative, or you're going foreign. So, that's the main point. Okay, all right, that's it for today, folks. It's 2 hours, so I really got to call it and get onto some other stuff, record some other videos, work on the Storycraft book, which I'm hoping will come this year, as well as Eternal Dream 3, Eternal Dream Legends number 2. I got 2 fantasy books that I need to get polished up and shipped out in the next few months, and then we'll see what happens after that. So thanks so much for hanging out with me for a while, and I will see you guys next time. And I hope that you have a great, great day.